All right. Good evening. Welcome to American Hammers TV, part of the American Hammers Network, the happiest broadcast we've had since sometime in January. And I couldn't get it started until it was almost half an hour late because my computer died. Just died. So this started a whole chain of events that finally led to me being on my wife's computer and having to get the password for it and doing a whole bunch of other stuff that required more work than I ever imagined. But anyway, so apologies for being so late, but we have made it. And we hope you're here. We hope you're going to comment in the chat room and hang out with us. We got Sully here in Sacramento, who is originally from Denver. As you all know, he's my co-host every Sunday night for this show. And we got Dan. Dan, remind me where you are.
I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina.
That's right, North Carolina. Sorry. But Dan's proper East London. So, Dan's a native. He's in Greensboro now, so he's one of our American Hammers now. Anyway, so we'll get to all the happy stuff here in a minute from us actually winning our seventh match of the season, our seventh win of the season. First, I just want to let you know that, of course, we have AmericanHammersTV.net, where you can do all sorts of shopping for all sorts of West Ham stuff. And also our scarves. Don't forget, we still have our scarves, which look really good. And this camera is very different from the one I'm used to using. It really gives me a huge background here. This computer is from the last 15 years, I think. That's why. Anyway, don't forget our scarves. I checked the PayPal account today. We've had no scarf orders recently. So please check those out. They're really nice. And also check out all the other stuff we have. Tons of stuff. Shirts, I don't know, sweatshirts, any kind of memorabilia you want. Framed placards, I don't know, phone cases, all that kind of stuff. Also, if you want to be on our show, if you're anywhere in the world and you want to be on our show, and it doesn't matter, I don't care if you're in the US or England or Thailand or Brunei, it doesn't matter. Anywhere in the world you want to be on the show, let us know. Go to the website, contact us, let us know. We'd love to have you on, love to interview you. Here comes Joss. Here comes Joss from Kansas City. How you doing, Joss?
Doing all right. How are you guys?
Yeah, I'm all right. We just got started. I was just saying my brother-in-law's MacBook finally died tonight. It was just dead when I got up here, so it was DOA. So anyway, that's why we're so late. But Joss from Kansas City, home of Winston Reed, and the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, as always. Which I'll say that all in the offseason.
I'm here for it. I love that.
Being here. And yeah, as I said, if you want to be on the show, let us know. If you want to be interviewed, if you want to co-host, whatever you want to do, let us know. I see three of us have gone with our away looks tonight. The white shirts. Yeah, it's nice. It's good. Looks memo. Yeah, no, I like that Tim's Ironwork shirt. I never bought one of those, but I like those. Those are cool. And the chat room's filling up already. Like I see Charlie, I see Wally, I see Gabe down in Austin. There's Neil from Australia. Man, everybody's here. So this is great. This is awesome. So I think we've introduced everybody around. As I said, Josh, I was saying when we first got started, this is the happiest broadcast we've done since whenever we beat Bournemouth. I don't remember when that was. It was so long ago. Right. My memory's sort of fuzzy. I think it was in 2020, but it's kind of hard to remember. Anyway, I listen, I usually have the whole sort of list of complaints and angry rants prepared for Sunday nights. But tonight, I'm pretty happy. Here's Foshizi. I see Foshizi in the chat room too. Everybody's here. This is great. Tonight, I'm pretty happy. So listen, why don't we just go around the circle? Tell me three things you loved about yesterday's game, and maybe give us an idea of whether you think we're finally building. You want Bowen for President 2020? I just noticed that. That's very good. That's very good.
Yeah.
I'll probably vote for him.
So I guess that
Tuesday. I'll write him in on Tuesday.
Yeah. No, so I'll definitely say he's definitely one of my three things. It was nice. It was really interesting earlier in the week where Moyes was like, "Oh, we can't depend on a dude from the championship to come up and be our savior." And first 15 minutes of the game comes in and scores a pretty neat goal. And not only with that, but it was nice to see him and Fornals had a pretty solid link up throughout the entire game. I think one thing that was really interesting, after watching the match was the fact that we only had 34% possession. And one thing that I think we did really well is making the best of our opportunities. watching the game afterwards, it didn't feel like we only had 34% and they had 66. You know, I guess we had 14 shots, 8 on target. They had 6 with 2 on target. So defense played pretty well.
Right.
I mean, there were a couple of times where what was it, Diop and Noble try to give them, you know, wide open opportunities. But other than that, I don't think the defense really had too much of too many lapses. It was funny in our group chat. I was talking to everybody saying that I felt as if Hilaire's touches were a little bit too soft. His passes, I'm sorry, to streakers into the box. And right after I said that, he had a nice little chip pass up, I believe, to Antonio, who got a really nice goal.
Yep.
So everybody was saying they just have to link up together. So hopefully Moya sticks with this. There's no reason for him not to.
I'm sorry. I just was thinking. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. I think the Hilaire pass was the great little pass that Antonio then bottled and didn't score on, because I think Fornals chipped in the ball on the goal that he got. He had 2 breakaways, if you remember. Anyway. But I thought interesting to me, and I want to get everybody's take on this too. I felt as though Southampton had I think it was like 65% possession or something like that. So like 2/3, but it was all garbage possession. It was like Allardyce Pellegrini style possession to me. You know, mostly it was like a lot of passing backward. I didn't feel as though they created that many opportunities. And frankly, when Danny Ings came on, I thought we were toast, but he didn't really make that much of an impact. I thought we controlled the midfield. I don't know. So what did you think about how they dominated possession, but they didn't seem to really dominate the game?
Yeah, no, like I said, it was just empty possession. I mean, I feel like, you know, our center backs and just our back four in general was doing a really good job of tracking back. Like I said, outside of those 2 chances that we kind of gifted them. Fabianski had a couple pretty nice saves too. You know, which if those goals go in for Southampton, you know, it might be a different story that we're talking about here. But just the whole team just seemed to play a solid defensive game as a unit, which is very rare to see. I mean, there wasn't really many cards given out, only 2 for the game for both sides, or 2 total for the game, I should say. We had 8 fouls, so nothing too ridiculous. We didn't get called for offsides once, which was nuts. But I mean, Fabianski only had 1 recorded save, so pretty light day for him outside of the couple times he got stretched. But yeah, I mean, and the goal that we gave up to, there was nothing he could do about it.
No, there's nothing he could do. Tim blamed him, of course. Tim was sitting next to me on the couch in my house. And when he was at full stretch, there's nothing he could do. It was the Irishman there scored, Obafembi. Mm-hmm. Apparently he's a Republic of Ireland international. So I was sitting there yesterday. I made the joke. I said, well, you got, the O'Sullivans and the O'Reillys and the Obafembis down in County Kilkenny. And then Tim stole that joke and put it on Twitter today. So he stole my Twitter. It all comes from American Hammers Network anyway, but he stole my Twitter joke. Anyway, Danny, give me your impressions. What do you think?
I love the formation, first of all. I love the lineup he put out. Southampton did have a lot of the ball, and I don't know if you guys recall, but the first 2 or 3 minutes of that second half, I think my heart stopped a few times. If you remember, Southampton was just whipping the ball across the goal.
They were all over us for the first 5 minutes. Yes.
I said to my dad, we're the worst team. I watched with my father, and I said, we're the worst team at keeping leads. And I said, this is going to be a long 45 minutes. Thankfully, we got the 3rd goal, which I think we deserve. We looked so dangerous on the counter-attack.
Yeah, we did.
Dangerous. And I think the commentator said that the reason Bowen came off is because he picked up a knock. And I'm hoping that doesn't, affect the next game.
Right. I hate hearing that.
Post-match interview, and he sounded all happy and stuff. He said he's ready to go again, and it was good to be out there with the guys. So I don't think it's anything bad. I think it was just precaution. But I love the lineup he did. I loved the Antonio Haller link up. I've not seen Haller win that many headers, and Southampton have got a lot of tall players. And I tell you what, that Haller goal. Yep. That's a proper striker finish, because that shouldn't have happened. Yeah,
that was we said the same thing watching the match. Ken and Tim and I said the same thing. That was a sneaky, beautiful goal because he never gave up on it, right? Mm-hmm. So all season, I've been saying all season he doesn't put in enough effort. But then yesterday he ran all over the pitch. And on that goal in particular, which was really the critical goal because it got us ahead at halftime, he chased the ball down. He got in with the keeper. He didn't, physically assault him, so that so he didn't commit a foul. But he went in. He was smart about it. Headed the ball, controlled it, and then the way he came and kind of flicked it, from almost a horizontal position. It's actually a really good goal.
Yeah.
Really
He
good.
kept his
And I'm not
eye on
sure.
the ball the entire time.
Right,
If
exactly.
you look at the replay. And I didn't celebrate when it first went in because I was thinking, oh, God, VAR.
I didn't either.
You know how referees look
None
at
of us did.
goalkeepers. But then there was no
Yep.
way. They showed the replay and his eyes didn't come off the ball.
Yeah,
That's a
the
great
keeper
goal.
wasn't even complaining either, which was a
No.
pretty shocking thing too.
He's
No, the
probably
defense was
complaining
either.
in the dressing room
That's
how
true.
bad he was, but that's the only complaint he can have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and one
Yeah,
thing
we
too
can't-
to kind of
somebody else
support what you
could-
were saying. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say one thing to support what Dan was saying too about Allaire is I saw after the match that Allaire had 14 aerial duels won, which I think led the game,
Yes.
which is crazy. I mean, that's almost, it's kind of like taking Andy Carroll out and just putting somebody who's healthy and sticking him right in
I
there.
don't think he's ever had a problem heading the ball, though.
No,
He's
he
never had a problem
hasn't.
heading the ball.
No,
It's his work rate. And I
Yeah.
think the lineup has a lot to do with it. He played with Luka Jovic up top at Frankfurt, and they had a connection. He comes to West Ham, he's not had anyone to play with. You put him up there with Antonio, and you see what happened.
Yeah.
He played a great game, and he's never had a problem in the air. He's got great control for a big guy. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a player, and he'll fit in anywhere he goes with the right formation and the right players around him.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I thought his effort was reflective of the fact that he had players around him who were actually helping him in attack, and he seemed to respond to that by putting in an effort, by trying, which I didn't think he'd done for a long time. Joss, what did you take away from the game?
I took away the fact that Pablo Fornals is the paella Payet. Honestly, what
The
a player
paella
Pablo
Payet.
Fornals is. I'm genuinely in shock how good Pablo Fornals is, especially because I remember watching him against Bournemouth at whatever, I forget what their stadium's called, but I was just not impressed with him. I was like, he's going to be another flop. But the way he's grown these past 3 months it's astounding how good he is. His work rate was phenomenal. He picked up these great positions. His ball into Bowen, I think, needs to be talked about more. His assist for Bowen needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I watched it over and over again on Twitter, and frankly, it's gorgeous. Yeah,
That goal was actually really gorgeous because it came from Declan Rice, just first touch into Fornals, who's able to just pick his head up, and Haller had drawn the defenders, and Bowen was able to slip in behind like he had done against Liverpool. But this time he had gone for pretty much the same finish, but this one it actually worked. So
that movement from Bowen as well.
We've missed it. I don't remember the last time we had a player.
He made a run. Right, Dan, you're right. He made a run. He did what our strikers never do.
He did it all game.
He ran into the channel.
Draws defenders. Yep.
Right.
The whole game. He made those runs.
Right. He ran into the channel.
I'm telling you, he's a Premiership player.
The whole front four honestly played really well together, and it was pretty much from the starting kickoff. Like I said, I think that's one reason too why it was shocking after the fact that you think how do we only have 34% possession, but those front four, whenever they were getting balls through, and even when we got the ball deep in our own half, the outlet passes from pretty much everybody was on point, and they were all on the break, all turned around the Southampton's back four. And I mean, it is unfortunate. I do think we have more goals left out there, but the way that they were all playing together, it just seemed like they were all just having a really good time.
It was it was quick and decisive, and I remember on the third goal, that was right after Southampton's sustained pressure, and they had gotten 5 or 6 crosses into the box, and all it took was a Fabianski long ball into an Allaire flick on to Fornals, who was able to just lightly chip it over the back line into Antonio, and that's really all you need. And that's all you need as a team that's fighting relegation. You get the goals how they come.
Right.
I got the sense, and absolutely. I go ahead, Sally. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, which is crazy because everybody since Moyes has come on is why what did Fornals do to piss off David Moyes? Wasn't injured from what we know, nothing like that, but he just wasn't starting, and now he comes on against Liverpool, scores, he starts this game and he's, arguably one of the, man of the match, or at least he's in the conversation for man of the match. So I don't think he's going to be dropped, unless, knock on wood, he gets hurt in training. But I think, you have to go with the same starting 11 into Arsenal because that's a extremely winnable game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what?
Against their defense.
Yeah.
That's a good point you make about Arsenal because, it's something I looked at today that I didn't realize. They're, obviously they're ahead of us in the table. They have quite a few more points than we do. However, they've only won 8 games all season.
Yeah. They have one more win than we do. They just have
7.
a lot of draws.
Yeah, they have 13 draws. They have 8 wins, 13 draws, and 6 losses. So they have 37 points. They're 10 points ahead of us. But they've only won one more game than we have.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, they're not unbeatable by any means. We were hanging with them at home until Masuaku, came on. But they're not. This is not Leicester. This is not City. This is a different level. I think they're very beatable. So this is what I want to get into next is kind of what you guys think is going to happen because I felt as though Moyes basically said, "All right, we're done with City. We're done with Liverpool. Let's actually try to win now." And I felt as though the formation with basically 3 up front essentially. I thought the way he seemed to let the players go and play and be creative. I felt as though he told them, okay, you can start trying to win now. It's safe to try to win. We don't have to worry about goal differential anymore or keep the match close or whatever. Do you guys, what's your speculation? You think he's going to do that against Arsenal? Do you think he's going to do that now going forward? Or does he play cautiously against Arsenal and Chelsea and Tottenham and then tell them to go, be more attack-minded against, when we get into Bournemouth, Villa and the rest of them that are on the fixture list? What would your speculation be? Well, Joss, why don't we start with you this time?
I think it was strange that we had I get why, but we had targeted this Southampton game as a game where we need to get points. And
right.
Southampton before this game had been one of the most informed teams in the Premier League ever since January. Ever since their 9-0 loss, they've been unreal.
Yeah. I mean, they'd hardly lost. We beat them in December, I think.
In December,
Right, and then they've only lost once or twice since then. I think they've been really informed.
They've gone to Liverpool and they've played them, and they had they could have won it. They've gone to Leicester and they've beaten them there. They've outshot Aston Villa 28-9 the game before. So I think that Moyes' approach was going to depend on how the Southampton game went. He's seen what we can do when we go out and we have these the freedom to play. He doesn't have to play at 5 back. He doesn't have to play Aaron Cresswell at center back like he did against City and right midfield. This is an Arsenal team that is vulnerable right now. They've been vulnerable the whole season. They're there for the taking. I think that Moyes is going to leave the team as it is, leave the instructions the same, and just say go out there and play for it.
Yeah, I hope so. Danny, what do you think? I know what you'd like to see, but what do you think is actually going to happen? You think Moyes will let us unleash the guys a little bit here?
I'm hoping so. I hope he keeps it as it is, but the Moyes way is away from home against these big teams.
Which is what we have coming up, yeah.
Yeah, and to me, Arsenal isn't a big team anymore. They're a big name, but Wolves and Leicester are bigger teams than them.
Sure they are.
And I think
absolutely. In the table, yeah.
We need to go at it. We basically just played counter-attack against Southampton at our own place. Arsenal are going to have as much possession, if not more possession, than Southampton did.
Yeah.
As long as we can keep Aubameyang semi-bored, I think we have a really good chance. They don't have a team anymore. They're not Arsenal. And we need to have a go at them. We need to stay the same. We need to stay positive. And the games around us, we can't depend on just us anymore. The bottom half of the table, the bottom 5 or 6, any 3 of those can go down. Norwich got a big win.
Yeah.
Watford beating Liverpool.
That was insane.
Unreal.
It's a good thing that we won. It really is a good thing that we won because Bournemouth picked up a point. Watford won. Norwich won. Villa didn't play. We needed that win. We need to go into this game with the same focus, same lineup, and just have a go. They're there for the taking, like Josh said.
I absolutely agree. And Watford, we can get to that a little later on. Watford frustrated me because that should have been us, and I'm still frustrated that we didn't hang on to that match against Liverpool, frankly. But listen, I don't want to dwell on negatives because we've just had a really good win. But I was not surprised at all that Watford won. I was surprised Watford scored 3 goals. I made the joke on Saturday morning. I said, well, we'll be ahead of Watford on goal differential unless they beat Liverpool by 6. Well, they beat it by 3. I mean, they were on the way. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, the relegation battles are weird, and you get into the time of the season when mid-table clubs get all kind of soft and squishy, and they don't maybe run out as hard as they would have otherwise. If they're not really in contention for Europe, if they're not really contention for anything interesting. You don't know what you're going to get from them. Your 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place clubs, that sort of thing, which is where Arsenal are basically. So, I don't know, Sally. What do you think about Moyes? You think he'll keep his keep his nerve, or he'll put us back into a cocoon?
I don't know. I'm on the fence about it because I would not be surprised if he sets up something similar to what he did against Liverpool, because I think. I agree 100% with what Dan was saying, is that they're not scary right now, and to be honest, they haven't been for some time. But I think he might look at it in the sense of like, oh, it's Arsenal and we're playing Arsenal away, where whenever you play in the London Derby, you have to just go for it, because in London derbies you never know what can happen, And I think that should have been our mindset against City and against Liverpool away, is just go for it. Like, at this point in the season where we're sitting in the table, what do we have to lose? Like we're trying to fight relegation, so we're not. I mean, even the win was great, but we're still tied for the top spot in relegation points. I mean, and if we win, we'll only go up to 15, so we can only move up 1 spot depending on results. But at the same time, like, we have to win, and a couple of weeks ago when I was saying that we have to take care of home, get all 3 points for every remaining home game, and, kind of just cross our fingers for the road. But the one scary thing, or the one thing that makes me nervous, about the Arsenal match, is with their 13 draws, is that for whatever reason, the score could be level, with like 10, 15 minutes left, and then they don't really even try to win it. Because I don't think they're in any kind of fear of relegation, but at the same time, they're not getting. I don't know. They might go for it. I don't know. I don't think that they're going to do anything crazy unless Aubameyang, just has, as Dan was saying, just has a great game, because that's pretty much the team, honestly. And I mean, I don't know. It's going to be rowdy. Anytime we play away at the Emirates is going to be a good time. We just got to go for it. I mean, we play the same lineup. They got a lot of confidence right now. Even from the Liverpool game, you have to imagine, we set up so defensively, and we still got 2 goals out of them, and pretty much set the blueprint for Watford on how to go at these guys. So,
yes, we did. You're totally right about that, Sully. I thought we sort of, if you ever watch the bullfighting, before the Matador comes out, there's like 6 or 8 different guys who come out and stick stuff into the bull. You know what I mean? And they wear him out, but they also make him angry. But they wear him out. And then the Matador comes out, and he's all fancy with his cape, and he stabs the bull and he kills it. We were like the guys who come out and stick the stuff in the bull, And then Watford comes out and stabs it, just does the thing at the very end. I thought we beat Liverpool down. I thought we provided, as you said, the blueprint to beat Liverpool. And let's be honest, I mean, with all due respect, without an error for Fabianski, we're probably pulling at least a draw out of that, which would have been a great result. So, we weren't far from winning that game. Arsenal, listen, I feel the same way you guys do. I mean, they're like 5 points out of a Europa League place. I think they're 8 points out of Champions League. They're not giving up, but they're not really like serious contenders for anything either. They're kind of where we were last season. They're really just up, and I don't think they're really any better than that. So, yes, and we do. I think we have to go for it. If there's a minor, mild negative,
I would agree with you, Dan.
I think they might have a little bit of confidence, though. You Chelsea dropping points, Tottenham losing to Wolves. They'll think they can finish higher than Sheffield United and Wolves. They might come and have a go. They just lost to Olympiacos in the Cup. What's the backlash of that going to be?
Yeah, they've got nothing else to play for. That's true.
And
They
they
have nothing
did
else to
have
play
this
for. You're
week
right about
off
that.
too.
They have no.
It's there for them. I mean, they get the
Yeah.
points. They can definitely get in top 4, top 5, top 6.
Yeah, and they'll be rested too going into next week because they were supposed to play City today, but that game obviously got postponed
Yeah,
because
well,
City
they
was
have.
playing Villa in the Cup
I am
final.
worried about Pepe too. Pepe and Aubameyang, because Pepe's starting to pick up his form. And I
Yeah,
can see Cresswell getting definitely a yellow card, if not a red card.
yeah, yeah. That'll be interesting to watch too.
They
You know,
have.
I think one
They
thing
have
too
not.
that Foshizi had
Go ahead. Sorry.
brought up was Suchek coming back and being healthy and replacing Noble. I think that would just be such a boost to the starting 11. But at the same time, I think the one risky thing with that, well, I don't even know if it's risky, but a lot of people who might be on the fence about Noble will say like these are the kind of games that you want to play Noble because he gets really stuck in for these London derbies. But I think you put
Yeah.
Suchek into this starting 11, and it's a pretty dangerous team.
I think Noble was pretty tired against Southampton.
Oh yeah, he was definitely.
I was just going to bring up.
He was sloppy. He had a couple of chances to put balls in the box. He wasn't running back, wasn't running forward as much. He was just kind of lingering. And I think Liverpool game took a lot out of him. He's getting to that age now where, he's got that captain charisma about him, but is it time to step aside a little bit?
Well, I was just going to bring that up, and I'm glad you brought that up, both of you guys. First of all, something I did not realize, Danny, you're right about Arsenal having confidence. They have not lost in the Premier League since December 29th. They lost at home to Chelsea, December 29th. 9 matches since then, if I'm counting correctly, and I think it's 4 wins and 5 draws in the Premier League, not counting obviously the Olympiacos UEFA Cup Europa League thing. So yeah, they're fairly good, sort of surprisingly good. Now they've had Bournemouth and they've had Newcastle and they've had they haven't really played like the best of the Premier League, but then neither we haven't had much success there either. So yeah, I think they will come in with some confidence. But in a way, I'd rather have that than have them come in and beat us the way clubs usually do when they haven't won for 10 or 12 games, and they come and play West Ham, they suddenly find their form. And they do apparently play Portsmouth in the FA Cup tomorrow, but I can't imagine they're going to put out, a very strong starting 11 for that, unless they want to win that as, want that to be their trophy. But yeah, I want to talk about Noble. I mean, if you want to take a small negative away from the match yesterday, I think it's Noble. He looked tired. He's looked tired for much of the season. He said he was tired earlier in the season. He never said things like that, but he said it this season. Suchek is not going to be available. We know that. So, and compound that with this is a London derby. We love Mark Noble in the London derbies. He has fire and passion, et cetera, et cetera. He has leadership skills in those matches. What do you guys do? Does he play on Saturday for you? And if not, who steps in? What do you think, Joss? Why don't you start?
So I know Suchek was hurt. I don't know if he's not back by the Arsenal game, then you play Noble.
I heard 2 or 3 weeks, so I think it's going to be a couple more games at least.
Yeah,
unless somebody tell me if I'm wrong. I'd love to know I'm wrong.
But Noble would have played weekend, like this weekend and next week. Meanwhile, Arsenal haven't played since the Olympiacos game. So do you want to put Noble up in that midfield against a rested Arsenal midfield? With I don't see, we'll just have Declan Rice ending up doing a 2 people's job again. So if Suchek is available, you play Suchek. He's younger. He's a better player right now. Nothing against Mark Noble. He's just a better player. And
he was captain. He was captain of his former club. So he's been a captain.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to be healthy. The problem is I don't think he's going to be healthy. Because I'd be totally with you otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Who steps in? Do you pull Felipe Anderson back in? Do you?
I say we put Snodgrass in for Noble's position, and then we keep the front four the same. That's what I'd do.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Danny, what's your thought on Noble? Well, your further thoughts on Noble, since you've already given us some of them.
I think if Suchek isn't fit, he will play. I don't necessarily think Arsenal have much pace in the midfield. They don't have much creativity. They start Xhaka and I think Torreira usually. If Ozil plays, then he might get a little bit of space. So preferably Rice will be on Ozil's shoulder. Arsenal got a big pitch. They've got a wide field.
That's true. They do. I forget about that. They
But
do. The dimensions are weird. Yeah.
if we don't play Noble and we don't play Suchek, what other options do we have? Like, yes, Snodgrass.
I don't know.
We have a lot of attacking midfielders, and I might get a lot of shit for it, but I kind of like to see Lanzini in that position.
Yeah.
Get on the ball, move it.
He's played there before for us as well.
Yeah, he has, and maybe just a little bit in front
Yeah.
of Rice, but not up as high as Fornals and Bowen. Just in front of Rice. Come
Right.
back, because Bowen will chase his ass off. We saw that. And
Yep.
maybe a little bit of
He
creativity.
will.
Have a go at this team. This team is there for the taking. Seriously. I'd
Yeah.
love to see Lanzini
Yeah.
and Rice play together.
Do you think? I mean, I just don't know what to think about Lanzini right now. I mean, he's because the last few performances for him were pretty bad, so bad that they really were frustrating and kind of infuriating. I mean, do you trust him, or do you think we
Yes.
just have to trust him because he is who he is?
I trust him.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you're.
He's got to have a good game eventually, don't he?
Yeah.
He's had so many good games for us. He's having a poor season, and we all come to the excuse of the injury
Yeah.
that he had. But no one's going to buy him at this stage. He's got to prove a point.
Yeah,
So-
I agree.
Yeah,
I
he
I
has
think
a
trust
few.
him.
I think
Go ahead, Sam.
kind of going off what Dan was saying. If for whatever reason you had a lineup sheet, right, or starting 11 that didn't have Noble and that featured, maybe two up top, three behind, and those three was Bowen, Fornals, and either Anderson or Lanzini, I don't think you'd get any issues with that. I don't think people would be upset with that. One, because you'd have a lot of skill on the pitch, whether that be Anderson or Lanzini, and I agree with Dan. I mean, he's had some bad games, but I don't think that he is the reason that we've lost any of them. But I know there are some games
Yeah.
that he hasn't been the reason that we've won them either. But at the same time, that's half the team that you can say that about. I mean, we've said the same
Yeah.
thing about yeah, I agree with Neil. He doesn't really tackle, but maybe like I said,
Everybody except Declan.
yeah, you just have Declan in front of the
everybody
front
except
four, and then you
Declan,
have three.
Ron and Snodgrass.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we don't necessarily
I like
have to
Snodgrass, too.
specifically play, two center backs, but just have like five attacking players. Five attacking, five defending. Just see what happens. I don't know. I mean, it probably doesn't make sense, and whatever. But at the same time, like you said, just go for it. I don't think anybody's going to be upset if you have all that skill on the pitch at one time.
No, I don't either. And I felt as though Noble was slow, he was tired. I think it's a big ask to ask him to play against Arsenal. The only caveat for me again is one, as we said, I don't know who steps in unless it is Lanzini. And two, I do like him in a London derby. I do. I always do. And I don't know if he plays 90 minutes, but he may only play 45. I'm not sure. But as long as he's not a liability, I don't mind having him on the pitch in a big match like that. It's a match we have to win. It's a way to a London rival. That's the kind of thing that he feeds on big time. And if he looked a little tired against Southampton, maybe it was in part because it's Southampton. However, he played 90 minutes, and it's tough to ask him to do that twice. So, but I wish we had Suchek. I don't think we're going to. But my caveat with Noble is in this match, yeah, maybe I do want to see him at least start. And then if we need to move around, we need to bring Lanzini and stuff like that later on, we do that. But
All right, 60th minute maybe. Yeah.
yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah.
I just like him in these London derbies. I do. And especially when we play away, I just think he's tough. He gets up on guys if they're not putting out the effort.
He's got the
But
leadership.
I still
We need that right now.
Yeah.
exactly.
We definitely got the
Exactly.
leadership.
And
Rally behind. And
We
that's-
need it. I mean, he's the heart of this club. We need that.
Yeah, I would say one thing too that's really disappointing. Going back to a player that you forget is even on the team is Wilshire. Because there'd be
oh yeah,
I don't think
forget it.
you'd have any issue with even having Wilshire up there. As maybe even the sub. I don't know how many games Wilshire starts either, to be honest. Especially with what we've
Three
seen
every
from
3
Suchek.
years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think he has played against Arsenal one time, the first time that he's that he was on the team when we played them. But
Yeah.
but I mean that would be
It's
your
a
other
former
option
club.
if Suchek
Yeah.
was hurt and you didn't want to have Noble in there. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird spot, you know. Yeah, right, Jack Wheelchair.
They made us stop selling our Jack Wheelchair T-shirts on the AmericanHammers.net store. You know, somebody made us. I don't know who it was, but I think somebody was like, "Don't do that." So we stopped doing it. But I should have bought one while they were still out there. Anyway, but no, you're right, Sally. I'd forgotten he even existed, and he sort of fundamentally doesn't exist. I understand we had a closed door match with Spurs last week to determine the fitness of Yarmolenko and Sanchez and a couple of guys like that. Nobody wants to see Sanchez back ever again. Yarmolenko is somebody who could be useful as a substitute potentially, especially to like close out a game. But I saw a tweet, and if I were on my own computer, I'd pull this up, but I'm not, so I'm not going to try. There was a tweet off of he's at Mother Brown, and our partners over there, and they brought up 4 or 5 players we had on Saturday on the pitch who were like 25 and younger.
Yeah.
There was like Ngakia, there's Bowen, there's I'm not gonna be able to. There's
Cornell.
Declan, right? The Cornells. That's 4. Yaller is 5, and there may have been somebody else. Those 5. There's half your team right there, basically.
Diop.
This is the youngest we've been in a long time, and I think it's fantastic. And I think in Ngakia we have absolutely our right back, not only of the future but of the present. Listen, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I thought he was fantastic. What was your impression of Ngakia, and is he your starter from now on? Josh, why don't you go? Why don't you go first?
Ngakia is easily the starter from now on. Dude's got so much talent. He's. I remember watching him against Sadio Mane and just being blown away. I'm like, this dude is 19 years old, playing one of the best attackers in Europe, and he's keeping him close. I just for years we've needed a right back, right? We've had to play Tompkins out there. We've brought in Zabaleta, who was good his first season, but not that it's his fault he's aged. And then we've had Ryan Fredericks and Ngakia. And Ngakia just has that quality on the ball that we haven't had in our right back. And all the top teams in Europe have a right back that can play well on the ball. Leicester have Ricardo Pereira. Liverpool have Trent Alexander-Arnold. Man City have Kyle Walker and João Cancelo. All these are important positions that need quality players, and especially as the game's moved on, and you've needed a right back that can play ball or can step to the midfield easily, and that's Ngakia. It's crazy. He's one for the future, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. Look, we threw him in, and this is what we've been saying for a while now in terms of playing the youth. It's dangerous. I know we don't want to ruin their confidence and all that, but they have to rely on him next season if we do go down, and the possibility is obviously still there. We just threw him in against Liverpool, his first 2 Premier League matches, played the best team in the world, and quite frankly, he did pretty well in both. So, and then yesterday he came out against a lesser opponent and looked very much like a Premier League right back. I don't know, Danny, what was your take on Ngakia yesterday?
I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer. He's got a lot to learn.
Yes, you are. You're going to be a Debbie Downer.
No. He's got a lot to learn. He's one for the future, but a lot of his play yesterday was kicking the ball long.
Yeah.
He didn't put his head up and maybe see who was open in the midfield, or didn't put the ball down on the floor. He had some good tackles. He's got the pace to keep up with the players. He's in the right positions most of the games. But put the ball down and play a little bit. Instead of just kicking it up, he made a lot of clearances yesterday. Fair enough if it's a last-ditch clearance, which I'm not gonna go off topic here. I am,
That's okay.
but I'm not.
Do it all the time.
Did you see the Bowen clearance yesterday?
Yeah.
When he got back.
Yes.
When Ngakia was
fantastic.
Out position, that is what we've been missing. But now we'll go back to Ngakia, and yes, he's one for the future. And the only difference that I see with Fredericks and Ngakia is more of a right back. Fredericks excites me as an overlapping right back. I like when Fredericks gets forward. He can't pass the ball worth a shit. He can't defend most of the time. But
no, he can't.
When he overlaps, I get a little bit excited. Little bit. Not like overly excited, but like, come on, a little bit.
This could be something. Yeah.
Masuaku in there. like Masuaku, there was a time in Masuaku's period at West Ham when he was good going forward, sometimes very good going forward. Now, lately, he's been really out of form, and defensively, he's a liability. But he is good going forward, and I think Fredericks is the same way. The guy does well going forward. He just doesn't defend well. You know, we get shredded down the wing between him and Cresswell. And I thought Ngakia was a more solid choice. But you're right, he does hoof the ball down a lot.
Ngakia reminds me of
right
Antonio.
Right back?
Yeah, because he just kicks the ball.
Yeah.
You know, it's just when Antonio played at right back, he was like a headless chicken with pace. Ngakia is a non-headless chicken with pace.
I think Lucas does ask a good question because I have seen Fredericks too many times give the own end for the bad pass. I'd like a right back who can play the ball, can pass, accurately, crisply, whatever you want to say. I've gotten so used to Fredericks not doing that that I kind of didn't mind Ngakia just doing my first graders and just booting it down the pitch. But yeah, it'd be nice to have somebody who could go. Sully, what'd you think of him?
Yeah, I think you could also say those long passes might have just been nerves. I'm not sure if he's been able to play in front of the home crowd before, or if he has, it might just be a second time. But I think also just the fact that like we were saying too. I mean, two of his first 3 or 4 matches were against two of the best teams in the league. And he like I was saying earlier, he wasn't the reason we lost. He had a lot of confidence, I think, as well. Went in and he got stuck in on a couple tackles, and he didn't go out there, and he wasn't made to look like a teenager, if that makes sense. I think if somebody had never watched West Ham before and watched the game and saw him, that they would thought that he'd been doing it for a few seasons now. But and kind of also going off what you were saying too, Lee, about the youth. I don't know if Ngakia kind of proves a point, because I think the jury is still out on him right now. But you see what Holland has been doing. Before Diangana got hurt, we saw what he was doing. I think the only reason that those are still kind of prevalent is because those guys were in need, positions of need. That we went and try to attack in the transfer market when we have the talent right there. But if we go down, obviously they're going to be those guys moving forward. But even if we stay up, which I'm sure we will, I think we'll start seeing them a lot more moving forward. Same thing with Ben Johnson. It's unfortunately that he's injured, because I think it'd be a really interesting back four if Johnson were to play as well on the left side. At least against maybe the quicker teams, because Cresswell's pace still terrifies me going up against any of the top six. But I thought he played well. I enjoyed watching him.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting how we debuted our young wingbacks against Manchester City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Well, that's what I'm saying. We talk a lot about playing the kids, and then sometimes the kids come up and they're really not ready. But Ben Johnson, when he stepped in last season, was ready. And then he personally got injured, unfortunately, and he's been struggling ever since. But Ngakia, again, he steps in. I think didn't he play both Liverpool games, if I'm not mistaken? Didn't he play home and away?
Yeah,
I think played home and away.
Yeah, his debut with
He
Liverpool.
done great against Mane both times. He done a lot better.
Yeah, and he
would have done. Mane would have Zabaleta.
Absolutely. No, totally. Yeah, no. So I think that's really encouraging to me to see the academy coming back at a time, after we just exited about a period of a decade when the academy didn't really produce all that much. If you go back 20 years and you had, maybe more than 20 years now, 25 years, and you had, Joe Cole and Rio Ferdinand and Frank Lampard and, Glenn Johnson, and about half the England team had come through our academy at one point in the early 2000s. And it hasn't been like that for a while. So I think it's really encouraging to see that sort of come back around. And I think it's in spite of our board, not because of it. But we are supposed to be the Academy of Football. And so it's good to see that come back around. The only other thing I wanted to ask about yesterday's game is, again, we don't want to dwell on any negatives because it was a great win. If there are weaknesses right now, what are they and what do we do about them? And I'm thinking a little bit of Aaron Cresswell here. who I don't think had his best game. I don't think he's a liability, but he and Noble were the two players I thought were off the pace, and you can kind of get away with it to some extent with Noble, but Cresswell, it hurts us when we get shredded down that wing. So I don't think anybody wants Masuaku back right now. Are we stuck with Cresswell, or do we think about changing our formation, or are you not worried about it at all? How do you guys feel? Danny, what do you think?
First of all, I like the foul that he made yesterday, that yellow card rugby tackle. We needed that.
Yeah, no, I like that too. That was great, actually. Yeah, that was great.
If I'm choosing Cresswell or Masuaku, I'm choosing Cresswell.
Yeah, we have to, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you do. And Cresswell's not the same player. I think it was 5-6 years ago when he came to us from Ipswich. Maybe his first season or his second season. Definitely not later than his second season. He got Player of the Year for us, and he was a good player. And on his day, he's a good player. And I say this a lot to people. I feel like the size of a football field matters a lot. Is there more space to run into? Is there more space that you've got to take up or cover? And your pace becomes a big thing. And Cresswell doesn't have too much pace, but he can deliver a ball if he needs to deliver a ball. He's good on set pieces. I don't think he will be our left back. If we go down, he'll stay. We're not going down. If we stay up, I think it's a position that we need to improve on.
Yeah.
But for right now, we don't start Masuaku because he's not a defender. He's a
no,
wing
he's
back
not.
Left.
Right, and he's a liability in defense.
Left back.
Right. I thought before the season, and we've talked about this all season long, we talked about this part of the January window, where do we need to strengthen? My own personal feeling was fullbacks, right back, left back. Well, we have a right back now, right, who came from the academy. So at least for the time being, we have a good, capable player there. Left back is still a weakness for us. What do you think, Josh? Stick with Cresswell because there's no alternative, or what's your take?
I don't want to see him at left center back again. I feel like that experiment is all right while it lasted. We've moved past that. We've got our formation now. We've got our 4-4-2, our 4-3-3, whatever it is, and I feel like that we're able to stick with that. I will say that in Masuaku's first interview with the club, he did say he can't defend.
Is that right?
Yeah, he said he has to work on his defense. And it's been, I think, 3 seasons since that quote, and nothing's changed. So I don't want to have to go in with Masuaku.
That's fantastic. I did not know that. That's great.
It's dangerous. So Cresswell for now is good enough, I think, especially in a relegation battle. If you look at the players at the teams around us, they've all got similar sort of players at maybe left back, all similar to Cresswell in how good they are, except for maybe Norwich, because I'm just a big fan of Jamal Lewis. But Bournemouth have, I think it's Adam Smith or Charlie Daniels, and Watford have
Holebas.
Yeah,
I like Holebas.
I like Holebas. I think Cresswell is good for a team in our position. If we want to move forward, we're going to have to upgrade there because, like I said, we need wing backs that can play ball, and I don't think Cresswell is that wing back or fullback.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, that makes sense. Sully, what do you think about Cresswell, Masuaku, and the whole situation there?
I think there's certain matches, like if we were in a position to have another option that was better than him, I think maybe you play Cresswell for normally the teams that are at the bottom of the table, because they're not normally going to kill you with speed. But I mean, Cresswell also does play his part pretty well when.
I'm back.
Rip. Rest in peace.
That's a good face. That's a good face you left us with there, Sully.
He's giving us his own face. Oh, poor guy. Poor Sully. Yeah, he's been fading a little bit.
Oh
no, we're spinning now. Well, that's not a good sign.
Oh, hey, sorry.
There he is.
Sorry about that.
With your O face.
It was weird because all the screens just had like a loading screen, so I thought Anyway, it doesn't matter. But
Tonight has been a total shit show.
yeah,
Eric
the
Freswell
technology
knows
front,
we're
so yeah,
thinking
worry
about
about
him. Trying to shut down the stream.
yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, and you know, I'll make my point quick just in case it happens again. But as Dan was saying, he was Hammer of the Year, you know, and I don't think that's something that you can easily overlook because, you know, he has come through for us in sometimes, but he's kind of Mark Noble-esque where he does get stuck in for the big games. But at the same time, like, I don't get nervous when I see him on the team sheet unless we're going up against somebody who has, you know, like the Salahs, the Agueros, you know, the stuff like that, you know, the Manchester United sides. But
I think they're against those guys, to be honest. You know, I mean,
no,
you know
yeah,
what
I mean that's
Like,
a good point. But yeah, but I mean, I much rather see him starting at left back than I would see Zabaleta starting at right back. Just put it that way.
that makes
That's
sense.
the best.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just no, that makes total sense. So yeah, it was just great win yesterday. There was the big protest yesterday, which apparently was pretty successful. I'm sure you guys know about this. The Hammers United GSP out protest. Of course, we support that. You know, from over here. I think there were estimates of between 5,000 and 10,000 people walking around outside the ground, which is a good number. I think the police estimate was 5,000, and those are usually a little bit low, in my opinion. So, we released the the West Ham fans who traveled to Liverpool released the black balloons, put up the banner at Anfield, the GSP out banner. They had the protest yesterday. I've seen a lot of ex-players, like Carlton, I think it was Carlton Cole, and you know I love Carlton Cole. Carlton Cole, for instance, saying like, maybe now's not the time to do this. We're in a relegation battle, you know. And to the credit of the Hammers United guys, they have said over and over again, we're behind the team. We're just not behind the board. You know, we love the players. We're behind the players. We're there to support the players, just not the board. I feel as though we're playing better during these protests or after these protests than they had been previously, or the team are playing better than they had been previously. Do you guys have any thoughts? I mean, do you think this is a good time for protests? And do you think it's helping or hurting the team? The results and the performances have looked better since the fans started to get a little more serious about this. Do you think it matters? What's your thoughts on the timing? Tebow, hello to Tebow, by the way. Tebow says BBC says 7,000 plus. So it's a good crowd. It's a good crowd. What do you think, Josh? Good, bad protests? I mean, good for the team, bad for the team, too much for distraction, bad timing? What do you think?
We've had like 2 protests, and we've gone toe-to-toe with Liverpool and won against Southampton, you know?
Right.
I know we've had more.
Right. Scored 5 goals.
They were saying that it affected the team in a negative way, and realistically, it didn't. That was the best I've seen us play since we beat Norwich, you know? I'm a fan of the protests. I think that it's a smart thing to do. If you're not content with how the club is run, then you got to go out and you got to let them be heard. And we've done that this season, and it's been exponential. Like, I feel like ever since the Burnley game, whenever you know the field takeover and everything like that, we haven't seen protests of this caliber. So I think that the fans they're feeling the pressure. GSPR.
And to the credit of Paul Colburn and everybody who's been involved, all the Hammers United people who've been involved, you know, it's been trouble-free. It's been well organized. It's really shown a side of West Ham fans that I think a lot of people didn't expect. Because, you know, West Ham fans, particularly English fans and East London fans, have a certain reputation built up over the years. So it's kind of not been, you know, rough. It's been very sort of well done. But anyway, Danny, what do you think? Is this the right time, right place, or you know, until we're sure that we're safe if we're going to get there?
I think it's a coincidence that we've played good these past 2 games. Moyes didn't base his lineup yesterday on a protest. I think that just
right.
That doesn't come down to we protested, so we played better. I think maybe it takes a negative toll on the players, and at the end of the day, whatever we think about Gold, Sullivan, and Brady, they're human beings as well. And I don't necessarily agree with ganging up yes, it needs to be heard. Yes,
Yeah.
we disagree with things, but we have been told that we were going to buy players, and we've been told that we're going to challenge for titles, and we're going to be a Champions League team. And to be fair to owners, they signed Anderson, who done awesome at Lazio. They signed
Anderson,
Messi
yeah.
to a new contract, who we all wanted.
Yeah.
They signed Haller, who
Yeah.
was better than Jovic at Frankfurt. They've kept Antonio. They've signed Diop, who's now worth 70 million. They've got Rice up to 90 million. They're not all. It doesn't all come down to the owners as far as team performance. They have a lot.
You get an act. They think you're a mole here, Dan. They think you're a spy.
Oh God! Well, I told you on the last show I worked with you, Lee. I told you who David Gold's wife is to me, right?
That's true. I forgot about that.
So I don't work for
You
the board.
do.
I don't work for the board. I feel sorry for David Gold because Sullivan, yes, the Eskimo Russian fella, has taken control of everything. And
I agree with that.
if someone's
Yeah.
to get the blame, I think Sullivan gets the blame. And
Yeah.
I've not been on board with them because of when
He's a terrible human being.
when we signed when we signed Snodgrass, and he said I only signed him for my son. I have never been on board with Sullivan since he said that.
Yeah.
And yes, the protest needs to happen, but maybe over the summer, maybe not in a relegation battle. It doesn't help the confidence of the players.
Well, because we know that, and Tebow's right, Trevor's right. The protests are happening outside the ground, so they actually happen inside the ground at Anfield, but it's not something the players are necessarily going to see. But we know they read social media. We know they check their Twitter. Mark Noble's talked about this. We know they do. So we know they know what's going on. They don't live in a bubble, I don't know, Sally. I know your Wi-Fi's been cutting out, so if you can, tell us what you think.
No, I mean, I don't know if there's ever really a bad time to protest. I mean, I think to the outside looking in, it might look weird if you're protesting when your team is winning. But I think at the same time, I don't think it's a coincidence either from what Dan was saying. But I think a lot of the frustrations too, obviously you want the board out, because of a lot of various things that they've done to the club. But even at that same time, the board could be all that they've done, but at the end of the day, they're not the one playing on the field. So I think, it is a combination of two. The team is playing bad, so you can say, okay, well, they're not bringing in the right people. But then when you look to see who they're bringing in, they're not the wrong people. They just haven't fit in well, because look at Fornals. Fornals, when we signed him, was killing it for the Euros under U21 team for Spain, and he just needed some time to adjust, which is no shock to anybody because look at him now. But at the same time, I think nobody, like West Ham, is not a team that should be in a relegation battle when you look at the team sheets that we have. But yeah, I think the protests aren't going to stop until there is a change in the board. And anytime the team is playing bad against teams that they should not be playing bad against, it's just gonna keep up. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with it.
Are you a mole, Sully?
No, man. I've been told that I'm overly optimistic. I'm like that regardless. But if Liam was here, he'd probably be on the optimistic side with me too. But I think
That's true. That's true.
It's not. It's kind of like he's looking at it like glass half full kind of thing. Was it half empty or is it half full? Well, the half empty side is get the board out. The half full side is like, well, the team's just not playing well. Either way, at the end of the day, you still got a glass of water that's halfway full. So I don't know. that's probably a bad analogy to use, but at the same time, us as fans just pay tickets to go and watch the game or wake up at 4 a.m. to watch a team get dominated. So when it just comes to that, and I'm sure Dan, firsthand, no one enjoys the whole next week until the next football game when your team loses, especially when your team is playing really poorly.
Yep.
And you could say, okay, that's the board for bringing in back people, but at the same time, you can also say these players aren't playing up to their paychecks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is a combination of a lot of things, and I'm sure the players see the protest too. I'm glad that we're playing well. I mean, promotion will do great things, because if we get relegated, there's going to be a lot of stuff I think that'll go down in that community over there. But I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll see.
I would like to add, if you don't mind, that I don't want to be hated for my opinion on the board. I just think that it's
Oh,
more
no.
to the club.
I don't
No,
hate
no,
you.
There's more to the
I don't-
club. There's more that we
I don't
don't
feel it
know
all.
with the going-ons and not going-ons. And I disagree with a
No, I
lot
don't
of
feel it
their
at all.
judgments and stuff. But I think they've made good signings. They just
Yeah.
haven't adjusted yet. So I support
Yeah, no, I
the board
agree.
and their signings, but stuff has to change. So I'm on board, but I'm
Well-
also not on board.
Well, no, nobody hates you, Danny. Believe me, and everybody respects your opinion, particularly since you're a native, you're from there. I think what Darren says, this is what bothers me more than anything else with the board. I think, and I don't know if they could have done this, if they could have sold it this way, but I've always said, if they had said we need the Olympic Stadium to remain a Premier League club, or in order to remain a Premier League club, we need Olympic Stadium, or we're going to fall behind. We need the Olympic Stadium to be, a mid-table club. If they had said all that, I know it's not a great sell, but it was closer to the truth. They came out and said things like, it'll get us to the Champions League. It's going to take us the club to places where it's never been before. They could never deliver on those promises, because there's no way to do that, because it's a stadium in and of itself doesn't do that. These days you have to have a billionaire owner who does that. You have to have a Man City situation or a Chelsea situation. They were never those people, and we knew that from the beginning, but they kind of acted as though they were. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. I still believe, and I've said all along, a lot of people think I'm wrong about this, and it's fine. I think if Payet had stayed with the club, if we had gone into the first season at the Olympic Stadium with a contender for Europe, if we'd finished like in the top 6, something along those lines, I think people would have said, you know what, the stadium's not great, but who cares? Because we're winning, we're happy, this is what was supposed to happen. I think the attitude would be more along the lines of, all right, I sit further back from the pitch than I used to. It's kind of ugly. It's in the middle of nowhere. But you know what? We're top 6. Who cares? When that didn't happen, it became all about, they're destroying the club. They're destroying the culture of the club and the history of the club. And I do respect that feeling. But I still believe winning solves all this.
I definitely agree with you on that side of it. You don't take a team. You took the heart out of the team. That's one thing I very much dislike. We went from a stadium that we showed up against big teams, and you've given us this new stadium. It does, like I said last time, it just feels like vacation. It doesn't feel like home anymore. I feel as though we didn't need to make that move. You're saying that we needed to make that move to be a top 6 team.
I'm not saying we needed to.
No,
I'm not saying we needed to.
The owners.
Their argument should have been different.
Yes.
Their argument should have been, if you want to survive in the Premier League, you've got to keep up with Tottenham and Arsenal and Manchester City and Chelsea and all these other clubs that are upgrading their grounds. Southampton had built one in the last, 15 years, something like that. I mean, all these other clubs that have upgraded their grounds, we've got to be one of them, or we're going to end up being, we're going to end up being Norwich, or we're going to end up being, West Brom, like an elevator club,
I don't feel as though
that's
the ground makes too much of a difference. If you're going to make it a 60,000,
well, I don't think it does either.
Bring the fans closer to this. Bring the fans closer to the field. Yeah. Make it feel like a fortress. Make it feel like a home. Then it becomes a difference.
That is the biggest. I think that's the biggest thing. But I still feel, and I know people don't think this is true, and I mean, I could be wrong, but I still feel as though if we were right now sitting where Leicester are sitting, or Wolves even, or Sheffield United even, I think the attitude would be more like, yeah, the stadium sucks, but you know what, we're good, so it doesn't really matter, or it doesn't matter as much as it does with a team that's a club that's again battling relegation. The frustration of that to me is just like, there's no reason we should be here. And, oh, by the way, the stadium also blows.
A lot of the grievances is we've seen like Spurs move and how well that's gone for them. And we're just like, why couldn't that be us? Or like, as you mentioned, Southampton or Chelsea, and they make these upgrades and it's like, why can't that be us? It's just kind of annoying that these stadium moves do work, and we've seen it work, and it just didn't work for us.
Yeah, you're right. And
It did take Arsenal a long time.
It took Arsenal a long time. It took them a long time. Because Highbury was
Probably
never
years.
right. Highbury was never much for atmosphere. It was the Highbury Library and all that, but it was an old
I
school
agree.
traditional stadium, you know. And yeah, I think Lucas is right, and I think I think he's right on both of these points. I mean, the stadium in and of itself is a world class stadium insofar as it hosted the biggest event in the world very successfully. That that you have to say something for the location and just the nature of it. But the problem is it never got converted to a football stadium. And I can't get this off the screen. Anyway, it never got converted to a football stadium. So I think that's the biggest issue. But again, I say winning solves almost every problem. Sally, you faded and came back. You want to? We got to go in just a minute because we started late and it is getting late. We've run over an hour anyway. You want to add anything before we go? Any stadium thoughts? Any thing like that?
Yeah, so I'll say a nicer, I guess, a more improved stadium than the one that we had. You need stuff like that to improve your chances on getting bigger names. I'm not sure if we can attract an Anderson or Allaire to the Bowling. I mean, obviously we all love it and it's great, but how many big name people do you see playing in 30,000 seat stadiums? So I think like you guys have been saying, the move was not a bad one, but it was just orchestrated poorly, and just like they were saying in the chat, if we were able to just get the seats sorted out, I think a lot of issues would be solved. But then again, at the end of the day, no matter if we're playing in the Bowl-In or stadium,
no, I think sorry, Sally, you're fading again. It's been a really rough night. You're fading again, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's mostly a matter of, and somebody, I think Foshizi mentioned earlier, the first signings when we moved into the stadium, Cagliari and Zaza and some really players who are trying to think like garbage players for us, right? And Torre, right? I mean, to some extent,
Wilson Fernandez.
Respect Caleri, please.
Yeah, it's bad luck. It's bad.
The other day.
Exactly. Respect Caleri.
Yes, he did. Cagliari got a hat trick. They still lost, by the way. Like they lost the tie, like 3 over the 2 legs, but he did get a hat trick in the game.
He scored more goals in one game than we have in 3 games.
That's true. But Wally is right about this. My kids are going to be hungry tomorrow. Also, I am starting a new job tomorrow, and I want to be not necessarily. Thank you. I appreciate that. Want to be not necessarily completely wasted for it tomorrow morning. So, you California people, Sully, you're out there. It's like 4 in the afternoon or something where you are. Right?
No, it's 7:30 right now.
Morning in Australia. We're
I got to be up at 3.
You got to be up at 3.
Yeah,
right, you guys. We got to go. Josh, what time do you wake up tomorrow morning?
10. I have class at 11.
Oh, Justin's thing.
There you go. There you go. That's the life right there. That's how you do it right there. Anyway, Dan in North Carolina and Josh from Kansas City and Sully on a choppy Wi-Fi out in Sacramento. Thank you guys for being on. I will have a show tomorrow night. I think it's at 8:00. This is a happy week to be a West Ham fan. We won. We're out of the relegation zone, at least for now. So enjoy and celebrate by watching American Hammers TV all week long. On Wednesday evening with our show that we don't have a name for. We just come on Wednesday and talk about West Ham. Seems good enough. Anyway, you guys, thanks very much. And to everybody watching at home, sorry we started late and had all kinds of problems, but I say, come on, you eyes.
Come on, you eyes.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.